Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Strange Normal. My name is Brad. We talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what is going on. And man, there is a lot going on right now. In fact, we are 24 hours late airing this show, and I'm sure you're wondering, what are we doing going live on a Monday night? Well, this is a unique show because we had a show all prepared for you last night, and as we normally do, we pre-select the clips and push them out to YouTube to say, hey, this is what we plan to air. Are you okay? Can we air this tonight? And YouTube said, no. And so I was just amazed because we have not got a strike or anything on this channel before, even though we do everything above board. And they did not like it that we were talking about Netflix. And even though we talked about episode 1 and I got Netflix approval on that, I got an email from them. And they said, okay, we'll allow you to talk about this since you're giving out different information than we've presented. And so, but when we tried to air some of those clips, they were not happy with us about episode 4. Tonight, that's what we're talking about. We're going through it. We're going to do it anyway, and it's going to be fun. And if we do get a strike, the first strike, 3 strikes, you're out. But the first strike is they limit us. We can't go live for a week. We can't put videos up for a week. That is why I put a video up on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube, how old am I? On this channel, so that we can, you can see it says, hey, we're also on different areas, different video platforms. So go to the YouTube channel, click on videos, and you can watch the last video we did, and it's a 2-minute video, and it just says, hey, go to this link if we get taken down. That way, we can stay in contact. We can continue being friends. And you can continue to hear everything we have as this strangeness continues and as the deception gets bigger and bigger, as we know it will. So if you haven't seen that video yet, 2 minutes on the YouTube channel, you need to go see it. You also need to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because a lot of people that watch this channel, they're not even subscribed. And that amazes me. I'm so glad everyone's here tonight and everyone is watching, and we get to do this fun show. So let me bring in Matthew tonight. Matthew, that was a long introduction tonight. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Just fighting a slight sinus infection, but other than that, I'm just peachy. It's just the seasons are changing. I have sensitive allergies pretty much any time the weather changes here, and I'm just gonna grit and bear through it. It's all right. I got some tea. I've had some nice hot spicy soup. I feel things opening up. Had a hot shower.
Okay.
Done everything I can do. It's in God's hands now.
That's right.
It's just, let's have a good show. And that was a long intro, but it was warranted because I know that our loyal viewers and listeners were wondering what's going on. Come on.
What's happening
Sunday
here?
Night. I need my strange normal show.
Let's do this.
I'm glad we're bouncing back.
We're already at 73. Continue hitting that like button, that subscribe button, because it does bring in more people. And talk to me in the chat. And I want to say hello to everybody in the chat tonight. I see a lot of people, a lot of regulars. Aaliyah, Deb, Joe. Hello, Joe. And a lot of actually Brandon. Yeah, everyone in the chat has chatted right now. I see you guys as a regular, and I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching what's happening here. So we're going to get into this, and we're going to do it anyway. This is going to be, I'm telling the audience now, I'm probably talking to you too. I've told you already, Matthew. The clips in this, we're talking about Japan. Japan's a very interesting religiously. And the reason why we're talking about Japan tonight is because this is episode 4. Episode 4 has a lot of religion in it. And what we do primarily on this channel is talk about the UFO deception and religion and how they're combining them together. It's going to be the new age deception. And let me tell you that you're going to have to read. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, it's going to be difficult for you tonight. This is one of the only ones where we don't do that it's going to be difficult for audio only, because it does have subtitles. There is a lot of Japanese in this, and when you watch the clips, portions of it will be stuck because I have to do that on purpose, and the other bottom half will be video so that you can read the subtitles. But we're going to try not to get kicked off the air because we are commenting on this stuff. We're providing new insight into this, into what Netflix is doing, and that's allowed under fair use. And so, isn't that right, Matthew? We both researched this together, so we know.
Oh, we know all about it. We're well versed in it.
Yeah.
At this point, I hope some of our audience is too.
Very good. All right. So the first thing I'm going to introduce, I was shocked at some of these clips coming up here, Matthew, because the first clip I'm going to show you is actual Fukushima blowing up. I didn't even know they had that clip. I thought I didn't even know it blew its top, but it definitely, they had it on video blowing up. And during that escapade, something strange.
You're talking about the nuclear plant.
Yeah,
Is what
in
you're
Japan.
referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the first time I've seen
Fukushima
that.
has a history, an unfortunate history of nuclear catastrophe. Well, a nuclear catastrophe and an atomic catastrophe, precursor to the nuclear weapons we have today.
Right.
Let's check it out. I mean, you got a clip for me? Let's.
I do. Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. Let's check this out real quick.
A large earthquake has just struck off the east coast of Japan here.
The big quake, magnitude 8.9. It struck at 2:46 p.m. Sendai was the closest population.
Nuclear officials there are warning of a possible nuclear reactor meltdown.
We keep hearing that the coolant system is not working.
A China syndrome meltdown and radiation leaks are...
The clock is ticking. Every minute that passes, we come closer to the time when there could be a secondary earthquake.
This is it. Look at this. We're going to show this multiple times.
いっぱい来てました。爆発した時ですね。もうびっくりしました。
That is weird.
And we're going to hold it right there just for a second. Wow. So we're going to go further into this, but that clip is going to be showed multiple times. And I'm going to check and make sure we're still streaming because we are. Okay, good.
We're good. We're still good.
It's going to show a longer clip of that, but what you're seeing in the sky is not mourning doves. That's something that they can't explain. It comes right back together in this one form, and then it separates. You see different ones falling down and coming back up, and this is the morning. Giant white things, okay? And so obviously these things, these UAPs, as the government, our U.S. government calls them, have been appearing and disappearing, and they can't figure out what they are. And looks like that Japan, if this video checks out, and it does look like it's checking out so far, has seen these. And it's happening in war zones, and it's happening at major catastrophes. And Matthew, I think what's going to start happening is when disasters hit United States, around the world, we're going to see these things over and over again, and people are going to start worshiping and praying and asking these things to help them. That's what I'm concerned about, because we're seeing this, and this is the first video that I've seen that is actually confirming, yeah, these things are appearing in these disasters. What do you think about this?
Those orbs, I think, look to be characteristic of the classic UAP that we've heard, the most credible ones. It's those little emanating lights, and they are moving erratically. The way that I look at it, it can only really be, from my understanding, I guess it could be something, maybe it's outside of my wheelhouse, but it seems to be some type of after shock, I don't know what you would call it. You did just have a massive nuclear explosion, so I'm sure that does weird things to everything around it, including things in the sky. But it could very well be a fallen angel just kind of hovering around and admiring their handiwork, and perhaps more importantly, to be seen and to be captured and to capture the imagination of those who have just witnessed this terrible thing happen. It reminds me of, in the pre-show little bumper that we have, there was an instance, apparently as recently as in the war in Ukraine. They said that a UFO showed up and was like shooting lightning stuff down and blew up the tanks or whatever. It was reported by Christian media as well.
Yeah,
there was
right.
a religious angle to it. So historically too, there are events, you can look it up, but people were always looking into the heavens, and they were seeing signs there, and they were seeing strange things happening that they couldn't quite explain. And I think that the modern world is not an exception to it. We're going to start seeing more and more weird stuff. This is actually the first time I've ever seen something about this. I knew about that detonation, but now I suppose this is that show, the Encounters. It's called Encounters, right?
Yeah,
and it's
this
just
is the 4th episode.
just pushing it out there. It's putting it in people's minds.
This is the show that was made up by, well, I mean, not made up. This is not, they're putting this out there as this really happened, and it probably really did. And we're taking it at face value and going, we don't think this is fiction going out right now. We think that there was probably really an event like this, and they're going to show witnesses, and they're going to. Steven Spielberg is on this thing, pushing this agenda right now. We know where his mind is. I mean, he's been in Aliens the whole time, so.
Yeah, he's made several alien-related movies anyway, so. Yeah.
And so, if you haven't seen this, our live stream before, we talk about this from the biblical perspective, and we know for a fact that we're going to be seeing signs in the heavens. We're going to have deceptions that are coming across. Matthew, you brought out one time that there is a major deceptions, and that can be physical, according to the plagues of Egypt. We saw that in the Bible, and so. Why not? Why can't there be a physical deception someday? Right now, we haven't really seen a lot of that, and I think we're being protected. But
yeah, whatever the case, we just saw some footage where there's something there. Maybe do they go into it further in the clips? Does somebody give an explanation?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to know. I'd like to get to the bottom of this.
Let's do it. Here we go. Here's the next clip, and let's make sure that we're commenting on all of them so that we don't get banned. Here we go.
Right.
やっぱり海にもたくさん津波で流されてますから、海の方もこうやって砂浜とかも見に来ます。でその時にもう震災の後すぐでしたから、こちらの方を見るともう瓦礫の山ですね。で向こうはもういろいろ津波ですから、家とかいろんなものが流されていて、みんなその5人とも当時一緒にいた人たちがみんな海の上にすごい光の玉を見てる。それもたくさんこう列になってっていうか、たくさんあるのを見てるんです。で光の玉、それもちょっと青白い光の玉で、あれはすごく綺麗な光でしたね。
I'm sure they were beautiful.
Right.
Does God make anything that's not beautiful?
Yeah. Well, they certainly retain some of their beauty. I think sometimes they choose to look a little nastier, or maybe the veneer kind of slips. I wonder about that sometimes, the beautiful aspect of Satan and his angels, because you're always, of course, the classic media portrayal. They're ugly, they're scary, they're running around looking like half goat red man, like you don't want to be around them. But the reality is, this man seems to, it's captured his attention, and even talks about it. He's a little bit talking about it affectionately, even though he was just talking about the trauma and the destruction that was wrought. I'd like to know, do you know how many fatalities were involved with this detonation?
I don't. Did you look it up? That's a good statistic to bring up.
No, I'd like to know, because a common trend that I've seen, at least in people's individual lives, that they have some type of a spiritual awakening or some type of a significant spiritual thing happens to them after they go through a point of trauma. Something really bad happens. I firsthand, I had something bad happen to me and my family, and sure enough, in the months that followed, things got really strange, and demonic beings started having this, I don't know, a level of access to us that they didn't quite have before. And the swing to that is that there is that opportunity to turn to God and to turn to Jesus as well. So through tragedy, I think that's why it's important that we unite in prayer, that we come together and we really do turn to God, not superficially. I don't think there's a problem that I have when people go online and they say, hey, pray for this area of the world or these affected people. This is a tragedy that's happened. That's important, but we really need to pray when we say to do it, because I'll see things, I'll get messages from people, or even in our Discord, we have a little prayer request section. And whenever I read one of those, I make it a point to stop what I'm doing, put it down, and start praying for that person.
That's good.
And start praying for those situations. And even if it just has to be as quick as, Lord, so-and-so is asking for me to pray for them, I'm going to pray for them, and I just be with them, help them through the situation. I think that goes a very long way, because it's showing, what it's doing is it's showing God that we have faith in him and that we trust him. And even though all this crazy stuff is happening in our faces, we're going to praise him and ask for his intervention, rather than these beings, which are clearly present, and I imagine they're really enjoying the destruction. They like the fruits of sin and all the wickedness. So they get to benefit from it in two ways. They get to show up, maybe cause it, but certainly enjoy whatever's happening, and then also just shimmer and shine and have people admire them and perhaps even turn to them on a spiritual level.
Right.
So it's a sad con. It's a con job that's being run on humanity for thousands of years at this point.
Right, 100%. And you mentioned the Discord. I'm gonna plug that real quick because I think it's important to have as many people on board as possible, because we all get in here, we research it, we try to figure out what's going on, and the more the merrier, because we have about 70 people in this Discord now. Here are the channels that we have: fellowship, general UAP UFO talk, hearings in the government, the meetup channel, topic ideas, things that are sent to me. A lot of things are sent to me. I can't look at everything, so I drop them in this channel. Channels are different groups that you can talk in, different chat areas. Things are weekly show planning, what's going to happen next, and design and production, how we design and how we produce the channel. You can have a say in that, even beyond the channel if you want. Matthew started as a Discordee, and he said, hey, I want to contribute, and I needed some help, and anybody can that's in the Discord, so we appreciate that. Social media, UFO, cults and religion, subculture, aliens and UFO sightings, Starfall 2 data collection, off topic. I mean, the list goes on and on. Fact checking, artificial intelligence, science, a bunch of things from the news, and natural disasters. We talk about it all, and that's just half of it. There's a lot more in here. And so every day there's tons of stuff that's new. If you are looking for something to look at for a podcast, we got so much material in here, and we want your help. So partner with us, and you can be a part of this Discord group by going patreon.com/strangenormal. That's the commercial over. Let's get back into it. This is a fascinating thing. You asked me how many people died. I'm going to read you this real quick. The government prints the numbers of people who died as a result of the 2011 disaster in the newspapers every day. In some other, the death tolls are amounts to 300 to 400 people in each prefecture. But in Fukushima, it's over 8,000 people.
Wow.
8,000
So yeah.
people.
So yeah, to think about that whenever there's a loss of life and a mass loss of life, all the people that are affected by that and all of those opportunities now, I think as Christians, that's for us, we should see that as an opportunity to share the gospel, to at least pray for the people, But if you're in contact with someone that's going through a hard time, talk to them, because obviously the enemy is interested too. I do think that's what they're doing there. If that is them, if those lights are in fact just the fallen angels captured on film, then yeah, of course, that's what they're there for.
I think this is the beginning of that. That's my personal aspect. If they want to appear during something traumatic, that's a perfect opportunity for someone to look up and say, "Hey, these things can help us, whatever they are." And
yes, and to that point too. I was just going to say, Jesus, when he describes the time of the end to the apostles, when we look and we see, think about that. He's describing this time of trouble that never was, and the amount of trauma that we're going to endure here on the planet. It's going to push people into accepting something really crazy spiritually, and the majority will. And eventually, it says that God sends them a strong delusion, which you know what that means. In the end, it's like, okay, they've rejected me for so long, they don't want me. You know, people are saying, "I'm praying for you," and they say, "Shut up, your prayers are meaningless." You know, here's what you want. Enjoy it while you can. Take it for a spin. And that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Where is the promise of his coming? Yeah, that's exactly it. So these next two clips I'm going to show, I'm not going to show them back to back because I'm scared of YouTube. But I do want to show you just how many people were reporting these things up in the air that day. Watch this.
原発施設が爆発した後、その施設の近くでかなり多くの方々が UFO を目撃しています。
Back when we called it UFO.
具体的に本当に彼らが何をしに来ているのかは分かりません。しかし堂々と姿を現し、明らかに何かをやってる。
All right, pause it there just for a second.
This guy knows. He's saying they're clearly out in the open and doing something. There's not being hidden. You've mentioned that before, Brad. I think that's a great point, is that people just say like, oh, well, if they're so advanced, then why do we ever pick them up on the radar? Why do we ever see them? Why do they ever crash into the ground? It's like, because they want to be seen, because they want to be interacted with. If they just remained invisible all the time, then you wouldn't have anything to talk about. They want to be talked about.
You have all this technology, and you're so far advanced from the society down on Earth, and you can't keep them out of visible range. I mean, what is that? Your cloaking system doesn't work only half the time. Well, you're such a good alien. I think that's bizarre. So you gotta think that these things are out there. They're trying to get our attention, and that's what their purpose is right now. They want to cause the world, the majority of it, and this is what they're going to accomplish according to Bible prophecy. They're going to accomplish making everyone fall into idolatry. Fall into idolatry. So how do you become idolatrous on this? Well, if anytime you're asking a being other than God for help, I mean, I'm not talking about, hey, Mom, can you give me a glass of water? I'm talking about, I'm going through
spiritual help.
Yeah. It's a major disaster.
Real stuff.
Possibly, yeah. The only God can help you with, and you're asking something else besides God. Well, that's just become your God. That's what's happening right now.
We've covered an interesting character on one of our previous broadcasts. His name is Chris Bledsoe. He actually put out a book, UFO of God. It became a #1 bestseller on Amazon under the spiritualism and religion section too. Just so you know, these ideas are very intimately connected. And his testimony is that he was at the darkest point of his life. He was just really backed into a corner, and he just said he went out and just shouted into the heavens, if you're there and you hear me, like, show yourselves. I want to see you, come and help me. And it was just that crying out. It wasn't a specific invitation for Jesus to come in. It was just anything out there, come in. And if you take a look at that guy now, he's in a pretty sad state. Pray for the Bledsoe family. Part of me really hopes that they turn around, and then all of a sudden they're like these great champions of God, and maybe they will be. We saw Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible, so I mean, it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's important. Like you're saying, if you're going to go after spiritual counsel, go to God first,
Right.
the one who died for you and loves you immensely, because no fallen angel ever died for you or would ever die for you. As a matter of fact, they want you to die for them
Mm-hmm.
and to use you against your God and the God who loves you. So,
Absolutely.
yes, it's important to orient ourselves correctly.
Okay, here's some more reading, guys. Here we go. Yeah, but this is important because it's going to show more of how many people were able to see these things.
If you look at a lot of the UAP displays as they are recounted by witnesses, really credible witnesses, there is a kind of signaling to us. You know, in the Fukushima disaster, there were many reports of UFO activity.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, look at
People
these text
messaging
messages.
about it. Yeah. Hundreds of tweets. A video surfaced that allegedly captured the flame lights of Fukushima.
There it is. Here it is again.
And that's it. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the best footage they've got of it. I wonder if they have any other footage from it.
I think this one goes a little bit longer. They all of a sudden come together.
But not only in Fukushima. In 1986 in Chernobyl, when Unit 4 malfunctioned, there was a lot of UFO activity reported there also. At the height of the fire in Chernobyl, the reading was 3,000 milliregtons, which is a unit of ionizing radiation. And right at the height of the fire, many people observed a UFO come, stayed for 3 minutes, shone a light right at
Is there
Unit
video
4,
of it?
departed.
There's not video of what she's
They took
describing,
another
right?
reading, and it had apparently dropped to 800, just in a few minutes. That seems like a very conscious attempt to remediate the danger caused by the malfunction there.
Yeah, so you know where this is going now.
Well, they're here to help, right? It's that. Yeah, of course. And they're obsessed with nuclear stuff. They're obsessed with the nuclear weapons. They're obsessed with nuclear meltdowns. But they're here to help because they're going to shut the nukes down.
That's another point. If something appears only around tragedy, you got to start thinking that it's involved in the tragedy. You can't start thinking it's here to help the tragedy. That doesn't make logical sense. I mean, I know they're going to go beyond this at one point. We're going to see this happen, and I think we're going to see this in the next few years. We're going to see that these things are all of a sudden, they're around tragedy, but they fixed it. And that's what we just saw for the first time. This week's full of firsts. I mean, we had last week was, and then this week, and then this is the first time we've seen someone actually say, "Look, they came and they fixed it." Before they said, "Yeah, they stopped nuclear weapons and they turned them on and off, and we're not sure what they were doing," but they couldn't put the pieces together. But now we actually got someone that's putting it out there on Netflix. This isn't some obscure UFO documentary. It's on the internet right now. This is there's news articles written about this series that says people now truly believe in UFOs because of this Netflix series. I saw a few come across, and so I truly think this is interrupting a lot of things. Is that the word I want? This is causing a lot of grief. What do you think, Matt?
Well, Brad, I think that it's kind of simmering in the background right now. Every once in a while, you see the UAP stuff push itself into the forefront. We were seeing that with the congressional interviews. For a while, it was really, really hot news, and it didn't even end with like a fizzle or a disappointment. A lot of people walked away from that congressional hearing over the summer thinking, wow, okay, there really is something here to it. And compared to like what happened in the Mexican Congress when they had their mummies come out, that's a subject of memes. Yeah, everybody was just joking and laughing about it. But the U.S. congressional hearings, that was taken seriously, and people still do take it seriously. We are seeing, I believe, prophecy unfolding before our eyes. It's been happening over the past few years. I keep seeing that a lot of people are talking about how they started waking up in 2020. There are a lot of people where that happened to them. I happen to be one of those people. That's when I had my real experience and dove into the Bible head first. And I'm not alone. I see it in comment sections. I think even in our chat sections, I've seen some people talk about how 2020 was a big year for them. I don't know what it is, but I think that we're just drawing closer and closer to the end. And the great news about that is that Jesus is coming back. We can all get excited about that. We know who gets the last word. It's Jesus, perfect as he deserves. But before that, we are going to see an escalation, and we're going to see some weird stuff. And just always keep an ear out for this UAP topic, because it is on the back burner, like I was saying, but every once in a while they shuffle it to the front. And, here on this channel, it's because we believe it has a very high possibility of being that great deception that satisfies everyone on Earth. We're visited by non-human intelligences. I mean, just look at this term, non-human intelligence. We didn't have that at the beginning of the year. People were getting prepped for something.
Yeah.
Crazy times to be alive.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the beginning of it. Absolutely. Here's where it gets into the divine UFOs. You ready for this one? This is crazy.
Am I?
Here we go.
That sounds weird.
まあ夢中だよね。みんな原発が爆発した時は震災の後すぐに避難しました。逃げましたもんね。被爆するからって被爆するっつってそれでみんな逃げましたもんね。やっぱ怖いですよね。初めはね。
24 hours ago was a town of 71,000 people, now completely underwater. No structure, still standing.
ところがですね、奇跡的にこのお寺には津波が上がらなかったんですよ。だから奇跡のお寺と呼ばれた。
Wow.
やっぱりそういう目に見えない力、神の力とかですね、UFO の力来て助けてくれたと思ってますけど。
Came to help us, did they? So I think it's funny that they and we've done this too. I've seen even in my church. I think it's fascinating. I'm going to bring this up because I think a lot of people have seen it in Maui. Was it Maui that burned just recently? I can't remember the island. But there was a church that survived. Everything around it was a disaster, and the church survived. And they're like, how did that happen? Very strange. Well, I do think there is divine intervention, but I think that Satan likes to have his divine intervention too. Now, I preface that because I don't want someone to say someone in the group that's not Christian, and they're like, well, what are you saying? I'm saying there are absolutely a divine work here, and if you're a part of a different religion that's not Christianity, let's look into it together. I invite you to message me because I'd really like to dig into this further, because what we're seeing, and I do believe that we're all God's children, but what we're seeing is that some religions are very closely tied to this, especially around meditation and Eastern forms of worship. And we're not exactly sure how that fits in exactly yet, but we're analyzing it, and I think it's dangerous to dabble in some of the things that are very close to this UAP thing. And so when they say that these temples have been saved because of the divinity of these UFOs, wow, that's a lot. That's a mouthful. I'm not willing to grasp there.
Yeah, it's a step further, because I see people in our chat talking about how in Maui there were churches saved. I knew about the one. People are saying that there were two churches saved. One was a SDA church. The other was a Catholic parish. I did know about the Catholic parish that didn't burn down. Everything around it was burned, and the name of it was Our Lady of Victory. Oh, wow. So it's, which we've heard a lot about the lady, and the lady is a very big figure in UAP, UFO type of stuff.
We're actually going to talk about her again tonight. She's in this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What a delight. Anytime the lady is Satan in drag, folks. So, just so you know, whenever we have to deal with the lady, Satan puts on his best heels and struts around for everybody here on Earth. That being said, yeah, there have been a lot of different holy sites that have been preserved, whether they be considered Christian or obviously, I'm assuming that's a Buddhist temple, like a Shinto, Buddhism, the predominant religion in Japan. So it's funny that they should attribute it though directly to it was these divine UFOs that protected us, because most of the time people don't report the UFOs sighting, so it's just, oh, God must have preserved it, a divine force must have preserved it. But because these people have seen that in the sky, they're connecting the dots, they're making a correlation, and they're saying, okay, our temple is safe, and we saw these things in the sky, therefore things in the sky save the temple.
Must be divinity. I know, that's where it really gets off, and that's where I think that they're heading this whole thing. Worship is what they desire, according to Isaiah 14:12. The next clip I have, Matthew, is it's kind of a detour about Astro Boy, and it's a little longer because I got to make a point. I'm not going to show it. I'll put it in the Patreon, because
you're not going to show the Astro Boy clip.
The Astro Boy, what they're doing, and I'll show you this because I thought it was an interesting idea to kind of compartmentalize and put in the back of your head for later. But basically, what they say is faith. They've made faith out of trauma. They created these cartoons called Astro Boy and a few other ones. And
that has an interesting history.
Yeah, and it combines two different things together, aliens and boy and machine, and puts them together. And they come out and they say, well, we love this idea and we hope that the aliens are good, just as we portrayed. And so it's more propaganda pushing that idea out there. Not that the people that are writing this know that it's propaganda, but seeds are planted even in the writers. And so I think I'm not just going to leave it there. I'll put this in the Patreon for our patrons. There we go.
Yeah, you're just afraid it's going to get hit. Is that it?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 minutes, and so I don't want to.
To
drag that.
Sorry, people. Yeah, we're not going to risk it. I mean, we're dancing on a knife's edge here tonight, so let's not tempt fate here.
Let's get.
Yeah, no. I just did want to talk about Astro Boy just a little bit, because I see even in the chat, isn't that an ancient anime show from the dinosaur age? It is. it happened as a response to all of the anime, which is Japanese animation, was born out of seeing Disney's animated productions. And not only that, but anime played this role in kind of uniting East and West together, even as far back as Astro Boy, and I watched a little kind of a documentary about it. I thought it was interesting, but they talked about how a lot of the protagonists that were in the show Astro Boy, who were helping him out, were the scientists or even people who were financing things. They would be Americans. They would be from the West, and it was giving this more of a positive identity to the Americans, because after World War II, there was an occupation by the United States the United States occupied Japan after World War II, and there was kind of a Reconstructionist movement that went on, and Truman helped write the Constitution. Really wild portion of history, but it's almost similar to what happened in the Civil War with the Confederacy, and there was a Reconstruction period there where there was an occupation. But Astro Boy did play this pivotal kind of role in a cultural sense of saying, yeah, like this is a united effort between East and West. They're not really our enemies anymore. And even today, Japan is considered one of the strongest allies, if not the strongest ally in that region. And I mean, how many years ago was it that they had an atomic bomb dropped on them, courtesy of the United States? So it's just crazy how quickly things can change, really, in a matter of less than 100 years.
100%. And so that's what's going on. And I think it's a very interesting clip. You can watch it later if you are on the Patreon. Any donation will get you in the Patreon. Into patreon.com.
You have like a $1 type of a tier?
I should. I have a $5 one. I just haven't included the $1 one, but I can probably add that in there. But anyways.
All right. Well, hang tight. Look for that $1 donation so you can see the Astro Boy thing. Astro Boy's interesting.
Yeah.
Look into it. It's cool history.
All right, so this next one is even more interesting. This is a professor of religious studies. They brought a professor of religious studies in here to talk about UFOs. Check this out.
I don't know what you're hoping to get, but I am a professor. And I'm not a ufologist. So I'm a professor of religious studies. And so I study religion. To focus on whether it's real or not is actually focusing on the wrong thing. We really should be looking at the meaning of these events for people, because it has completely shifted not only individual lives, but also the belief in UFOs is now a new global belief system. It's different than a religion, but it's religious-like. If you look at my research, there's a continuation, a theme of looking up at the sky and seeing things that are unknown and then trying to identify them. And today, we're still seeing that people see things in the sky, but what they're seeing in the sky today is what they believe to be like advanced technology. Whereas 1,000 years ago, they would think maybe that's an angel or maybe that's a demon. Wow. Today, they look up and they say, well, that's a UFO.
So it's the same thing, really.
I mean, she said it. I wish I could put, if 2 years ago when I made Starfall, I wish I had that clip because I was saying the exact same thing. I mean, not that it came from me, but I mean, just that, it's fascinating that people are taking this and they're saying, hey, look, religion has been, or Christianity specifically, is on the decline. And people are forgetting what they see in that sky, those glowing things. 100 years ago, you'd say, oh, that's an angel. And nowadays they're saying that's a UFO. A UFO? Really? A glowing light in the sky? Angels. Clothes made of lightning. Feet of fire. I mean, how can you, if you read the Bible and you look at the descriptions of all the angels in the Bible, they all look like what now people call UFOs. And so you got to wonder, it's not a UFO. What you're seeing is either the good or the bad angels, possibly the bad ones, depending on what the spirit decides to tell you. So
yeah, here's something that's cool. One of our chatters here, Adaptable, said Crowley said something similar, and I was thinking the same thing because Aleister Crowley is an occultist, a Satanist. We could spend a lot of time talking about him. He was called the wickedest man in the world at one point for good reason, but he had a little sit down with a entity that called itself Lamb, and Lamb, I believe, for all intents and purposes, could have very well been Satan himself. One of the interesting things that he said to Crowley was, they call us angels and demons today, but tomorrow they will call us something else. And this professor just filled in the blank for us. She's saying, yeah, back then we said angels and demons, but now we call them UFOs and aliens. Yeah. Boom. It's right there. It really, it's funny how all this stuff is just falling into place and playing out. And they've adopted this technological angle to everything.
Right.
And they're bringing in the religious people too for that reason. Because even she's saying, I don't know what you want from me. I'm a professor of religion. Like, I'm not a ufologist. I don't know any of this stuff. But even this is the same series. I think last Sunday we watched the first episode, and the conclusion of that was it's time to let the religious leaders of the world, the philosophers, the psychologists, they need to get involved. We don't need necessarily the scientists and the military people and the politicians. We need these people who have this knowledge, to weigh in on it.
Wow.
It's crazy how it's all taken a turn, a big way.
And I remember in Congress, it was revealed, according to what the narrative, we're having debates on what to call this right now, the narrative or the whatever the other word was. What is being revealed as the deception is saying that it wasn't in 1947 that all this stuff started happening in America, but it was in the 1930s with the Vatican that all this stuff started happening. Yeah. That went through Congress just recently. If you haven't seen a show back on that one, go watch that. That was amazing. And but according to this next clip, Matthew. This has been going on for a lot earlier. Watch this.
私個人的には UFO はあってほしいんですけれど、騙されるのは嫌なんですよ。本当の証拠が欲しいっていうことですよね。でそれを探してみるけどないんですよ、証拠が見つからない。1947年に UFO 伝説はアメリカから始まったんですよ。だからそれ以前の写真とか絵は全く見つからないんですよね。でそれをいろいろ調べた時に日本にはそれがあるんですよ。それがこのうつろ舟伝説で。
Look who that is.
Well, well.
これは瓦版当時の新聞なんですよね。
Wow.
でそれは全部1803年に起きた同じ事件の記録らしいんですよ。最初は外国船の海難事故の記録だと思ったんですよ。ところがそうじゃなくていろいろ調べたんですけれど、江戸時代にこういう形状の船はなかなかないんですよね。とにかく窓あるいは窓に似たようなものが3つというのは全ての文書で共通してるんですよ。
3。
それでもう一つ面白いのはほとんどの文書にこの女性が書かれてるんですよね。
Oh, here we go. Mention this woman.
And we're going to jump into that next clip after that. Now we begin the never-ending journey with what the Catholic Church calls Scary
not
Mary.
A never-ending journey. Not a never-ending. There is an end to this journey.
Yeah.
There is an expected end to this journey. It's just a drawn-out one. It's
man,
and it's a doozy. Did you pick up though what that guy said? He said, "I don't want to be deceived."
Yeah.
He said, "I started looking into this. I want to believe in UFO, but I don't want to be deceived." Even he has this inkling of there could be this deception involved with this. What I'm seeing and what I'm looking at when I'm researching might not be the genuine article. And we see that from ufologists from around the world now. I mean, this guy is a Japanese ufologist. And we heard before Jim Semivan talked about how there is this deceitful aspect to the UAP and all of these entities showing up.
Yes.
What's funny about us as Christians is when we study the Bible, we don't have to worry about being deceived because we're dealing with a God that never lies. Wow, how simple is that? I could just take it at face value and know that he doesn't have his fingers crossed behind his back.
You know what's
Jesus
funny
says he's
about that? I mean, it doesn't just say he doesn't lie; it says he can't lie. And I was thinking about that the other day. And you know why he can't lie? Because his words are creative, and if he says it happens, it is. I mean, it's like. The sky is now blue. Oh yeah, it is blue. Well, the sky is now purple. Oh yeah, it's purple now. It actually is purple. And so he can't lie.
Yeah.
So
anyway. Jesus called himself the way, the truth, and the life. I mentioned that on our last broadcast. And that's a great title for him to have, the truth. There's no shadow of turning in him. So for these people who are involved with this, I think there's always that in the back of their head, like, is what I'm looking at real? Is this something trying to deceive me? Whether that be a government or it be the entities themselves, because we've heard about how tricky they can be and how they can fool people. Yeah, it's interesting too. I just want to say, because for a while I was hearing about how UAP is just kind of like a Western world type of a thing, and that it's only happening to like select groups of people and it's not a global phenomenon. I think it is a global phenomenon. I think that I'll speak for people in America. I live in America. And by the way, another thing I'm trying to do is not to say we when I refer to the country of America, because especially in the times ahead, I don't want to be associated with any atrocities, past, present, or future, that the United States commits. I live here.
That's good.
I'm considered a citizen of it, but that's it. That's as far as I want it to go, really. I want to be a citizen of the kingdom of heaven and a follower of Jesus Christ. That should be my identity. I digress. People in America tend to just think about American stuff. There isn't really an outside looking to things. And if it does extend, it'll extend to Europe, because a lot of America's history, the roots are European. That's where the immigrants came over initially, and some of the ideas are, the Protestant churches fleeing and that type of a thing. When we start looking at these other cultures, just as this man is doing within his own culture, he's seeing UAP stuff popping up more and more. And it's funny because even in India, too, is another one that they mention. I've seen where they talk about how in one of their holy books, it talks about craft that the gods flew around in or whatever. There's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a false aha moment where people are going to say, whoa, of course, it was there all along. It was in our faces. But when you're dealing with these beings that have been around for thousands of years, before even the creation of humanity, they've been around. Of course, they've got all the time in the world to plant all the evidence they want. And not only that, they can wait out the generations to die. Now, it's one thing if you see me digging a hole in your backyard and I'm planting like a bone in the ground. You're like, hey, what are you doing out there? Don't worry about it. This is for your great grandkid. They're going to find the bone and they're going to think that an alien being put it here.
Right.
They don't know it's me.
That's part of the lore, the narrative,
Yeah.
I guess you could say, because this is unverified stuff, but they say they've unearthed these machines, these UFOs. I don't know if that's true. We haven't seen any evidence of that, but if it is true, you're right. They could have been around for a long time. Yeah, they've been here 6,000 years almost. So I think that it's anything's possible at that point. They could have buried that thing in just after Eden, for all we know. But I digress. Let's dig into the woman a little bit more and see exactly what's going on here. You ready for that?
I am ready.
All right, let's get our reading glasses on. Here we go.
Okay. My mug to sip.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, what is this?
The light language.
宇宙語って言われたりもするんですけど、ライトランゲージっていう言葉として表す。降りてきた周波数を音にするんです。音楽にもなるし、言葉としてからしてパパラカキケリチケラタタカレチケラパパパラテレテレチケラパパ。
Yeah, this is the peeps
コンタクトしてる。
and mutterings.
宇宙と宇宙人と。
I find this interesting that this is in every culture.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad that this video is chopped up because I really don't like seeing this type of a thing.
いろんな星を転生してきました。
It does upset me.
今すごく大きなアセンションの時なので面白いなと思って見学に来てます。
Okay, so
a great ascension.
We won't stay on this too long, but I thought it was a good clip to talk about because we've seen this in American culture where they try to contact these aliens and all of a sudden they start peeping and popping and all this other stuff. And then we actually see this even in some Christian churches. I'm going to mention this, but it really hurts me to mention this, but there are some Christian churches that believe that there is just gibberish and that's allowed and that's a language of God and that God allows that. Now, I don't know what you believe about that, Matthew, but I'm convinced that there's something similar going on here, and I don't think automated speech is something that God created. What's that called? He is not a God of confusion, and this is pure confusion.
He's a God of reason. He's a God of reason. I mean, that's part of it too. God always gives messages to people and they can understand what's going on, even in prophecies that are symbolic, and they might be a bit confusing, a bit overwhelming when we go over prophecy. There is a method to them. There is reasoning behind them. And when you look through the Bible as a complete work, oftentimes you see different elements mentioned. I mean, like, this is something I've talked about before, but this is just for people who maybe don't know too much about prophecy. Daniel is a great example. Daniel in Revelation, we can talk about that because in Daniel talks about beasts, and beasts are defined as kingdoms. Then we have Revelation. All of a sudden we're seeing beasts. They are kingdoms. Just because Revelation doesn't reinstate and say, and these beasts who are in fact kingdoms, it mentions that the 10 horns are kingdoms that have not yet had power, which is interesting that is specifically mentioned. But those those beasts have already been defined in the book of Daniel,
Matthew,
to God's message.
You're starting to speak light language again.
Oh no, I'm babbling. I've been stricken.
Did anybody else hear that, or maybe it was just me? Maybe I also heard you go.
No, not willingly. That's just the old connection acting up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just for the record, you said that you don't know what my opinion is on it. I do think that this specific form of communication is not edifying. I don't believe that it is the spiritual gift described in the Bible as tongues. I think tongues is another language, and not only that, a lot of people seem to overlook the fact that you need an interpreter. Exactly, it's a two-part thing. There's a message, but it's understood, and it's a whole thing to get into. But I agree that I still do think people can speak in tongues in the biblical sense. I don't believe that the gifts have been, I think, what are they called? Cessationists? There's a term for it. Maybe people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So light language is what we think we just went over. I'm not sure if I have 2 videos on that or not. I'm going to jump into it. Otherwise, the next one is Japan doesn't have a religion. This is what he talks about. Context matters, not religion. Japanese embraces paradox. This is what I think is happening next. Check this out.
Japan doesn't really have a religion the way we use the word in English. An institutionalized religion. There's nothing like the 10 Commandments. Ethical characteristics in Japanese culture are learned through school and through family. So behavior and identity is rooted in context. In this context, you behave a certain way, you can be a certain identity, and then in this other context, you can be something else and not blink an eye. You could be a teacher, you could be a performer, at the same time you can speak light language and be channeling the aliens and know perhaps that you're
That's
one
a
of them.
leap. That's a big leap.
とってもやりたいことがあってやってきたんだなっていうことを今思い出してください。
It's a mystery, but it's also a strength in that Japan can embrace what we think of as paradox and go forward.
So if that's true, that really is disturbing to me, because what they're saying is, and I get what they're saying, because just in the context of that, she was saying, look, I don't want to be looked at as a crazy person. I'm a drama teacher, but I'm also believe in these aliens, and I've taught my drama class. And she says, and he says, in Japan, since there's not a specific religion tied to it, there is the ability to be someone big in society and also completely okay to, in a different context, believe in aliens and speak a light language and do all these things that you normally think you were strange and might keep your career pulled back a bit. But in one context in Japan, you can do that. In another context, you can't. Or in a different society, you might not be able to. So that's
I think
fascinating.
That's they're speaking about the roles in Japan, which is a big thing. I mean, I've been to Japan and I actually really enjoyed Japan. I think it's a wonderful country with a lot of very wonderful, polite people.
Absolutely.
and a very rich history. Honestly, Japan is a really cool place, but the way that their society is structured and what he's describing is you have certain roles and there is an expectation for you to conform to that role. So if you're in the job, they have etiquette, and it's a traditional type of a thing where you interact with the boss a certain way, you interact with your peers a certain way, your subordinates a certain way. There are expectations that aren't necessarily, like he's saying, written out. It's not. For an example would be with Japanese business culture, they go out for like drinks after they're done with work. They like to go out, they have some food, they have some drinks, and they stay up and they stay out. If you don't participate in that, there's a good chance you're not receiving any promotions and you're going to be overlooked in the office because you're not fulfilling that role that you're expected to fulfill. Now, it's not in your contract. It's not like you sign something and say, oh, yeah, I'll be with everybody after work. No, it's just expected of you. There's a lot of expectation in Japan that you are going to do what you are meant to do. And I think what is being described there is this kind of a light language, alien speaking type of a thing. It doesn't have its place in their society, but they're making an argument for it. They're saying, I can still be the drama teacher and it doesn't cross the line. This is like a different role. This is a different set of norms that I'm fulfilling, and it's not going to necessarily interfere with society. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I understand that. Yeah. That's really interesting. I mean, wow. There is a master plan, and there is a different culture, and it always amazes me how everyone will fall into sync step, except for what the Bible calls the saints. And how is that even possible? Well, we're seeing it. People, Chinese, Japanese, some of these cultures have been protected, even closed in for so long that they've protected their culture. America's kind of a melting pot of culture, and so we've accepted a lot of things. And so it's real easy to see how we would accept this. But I'm just amazed that it would be accepted by so many different cultures all of a sudden. And we're watching it happen right here. This is we don't have to look back and go, hey, remember that when that happened in prophecy? We're watching prophecy fulfill. And that's really exciting, really terrifying at the same time. But let's get into this real quick. This 1803, what they're actually called. We're going to go back to that and the beautiful woman. Here we go.
1803年にうつろ舟はこの浜に流れ着いたことになってるんですよね。遠くにうつろ舟が見えたんですよね。それで漁船が船を使ってそのうつろ舟を捕まえて、で海岸に引っ張ってきたというそういう伝説です。でそれで中を見たら綺麗な女性が一人いたんですね。
Oh, there was a woman inside of it, huh?
Yeah.
Emerging from the orb. Where have we heard this before?
Right.
アメリカの UFO 伝説には1947年に始まったんですけれど、この事件が起きたのは1803年なんですよね。おそらく世界で最初のそういう円盤型に乗った異界からの訪問者の伝説だと思いますね。
Wow.
That's what he believes. And where was that we've heard that before? That was
if I get an image to you, can you put it on stream?
Yeah.
Can you do a quick on the fly type of a thing? I'm going to send it to you in a direct message via Discord. But I want to look at this because it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So it's funny I mentioned Bledsoe earlier in this little program because he said that there's water on his property and it like glides across the water and then the lady emerges from the light. And this guy is saying that they was out in the water and then the lady emerges from the water. There's a piece of mythology that is older than both of these accounts by thousands of years. And if you can show this, because it is an artistic depiction of this mythological event. And I hadn't thought of this before, folks. This is just coming to me live on air as I'm listening to this. I was like, hang on a second. Because I said, oh, where have we heard that before? And I was like, yeah, wait, where have I heard this before? There's something even bigger than this. And if we have that image, this painting.
Yeah. I'm trying to get it up. I've got
it's a famous painting. And I know that people...
there it is. Okay, I got it.
Okay. You got it? You gonna get it up for us?
There we go. I think I dropped it in. Okay, so let me see here.
Not a good night for our listeners. This is a visual one. You gotta watch this one.
So we're on. I just want to make sure I know what clip we're on. We're on clip 14 now, and let me bring this up. Here we go. Right here. Oh, wow. That's, well, I'm glad she has hair covering. Okay, we're not going to get banned for
Well,
this,
I
right?
mean, yeah, this is classic. No, you shouldn't. This is art, okay? And it's from Sandro Botticelli. And this is titled The Birth of Venus. This is Aphrodite emerging from the half shell. So in Greek mythology, what happened is, and what you're seeing there in that depiction, you're scared of it? It's an artistic depiction of it.
Someone's going to get mad at me. Okay, keep going. Tell me more about this. What is this thing?
This is important because that's the most famous image of it, and that's why it's in the zeitgeist. Yeah, no, it's not Athena. This is Aphrodite, which is the goddess of love. And what happened was put down into the ocean, and she emerged out of that shell that you could see. If you would like to, you can look it up. Look up the birth of Venus. Venus is just the Roman depiction of it. But this shell, I mean, I imagine before it opened up, it was probably orb-like. And it's just crazy that these cultures go back and have this type of a story of a lady emerging out of the ocean. And yeah, just blew my mind, man. Like, I wonder how much more. If you're in the chat, you can tell if you know. I'm sorry, I'm like tripping over my words here. If you know of any other mythological event where a woman is emerging out of an orb-like object from the ocean, please do tell. Because I think, especially on this channel, we've talked about before that we think the UAP question will have to do with things in the ocean, because there's a lot of sightings over the water. That the Nimitz footage, for example, was taken over the water, and there has to be some underlying connection, some underlying theme, and it's groundwork has been laid.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I thought that was crazy. Egg from the Nile, someone is saying.
Egg from the Nile.
But the Lady of the Lake, yeah, the Lady of the Lake in Arthurian legends, she comes out of the water too.
You should.
This might. I'm gonna. Yeah, we're gonna. Okay, we're gonna
put these
hold
together,
this
Matthew. I've never heard anything like this. Egg from the
no,
Nile.
It's just coming to me. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's coming to me on air.
No. I see it in the Discord. Or I mean, I see it in the chat too.
Made in the Mist at Niagara Falls. How many can we find? This is interesting. If you're on the Discord, I might just make a temporary channel or something that is about women emerging from the water. This is because this is kind of crazy. I've never drawn this parallel before. Didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, this is good.
Yeah.
This is what we do in the Discord all the time. Hey, this is wow. Yeah. So, very good.
Bretonian Lady of the Lake from Warhammer. Well, that is based on our Arthurian legend. But the funny thing about that Lady of the Lake in Bretonia, there is actually a deception going on there, because it's not actually a deity. It's an elf posing as a deity. It's really weird. Sorry, we're gonna go all night if I keep staring at the chat. So let's continue.
Write these down. Okay, so we're gonna jump back into the drama lady real quick. She's not gonna do any more light language, but she's gonna describe her experience that she had, and I think it's quite telling. Here we go.
寝ていた時に明晰夢の時に宇宙人が5人現れて、一番真ん中の宇宙人が緑、両サイドがホワイトの宇宙人で
Luminous white
発光してました。そして私はずっと待っていたから、ああやっと来てくれたのねって言って、好きにしてくださいって言ってこういうふうに手を広げた。
Yeah, here I am.
久しぶりの友達に再会するようなすごく嬉しい気持ちになって、全てを手放して委ねたんですよ。そしたら緑の宇宙人から順番に私のここのチャクラに
into her chakra.
A beam into the chakras.
全員が。そして私はこの上ない至福感に
And they felt, see, there's that feeling again.
その5人の宇宙人っていうのは私に分かりやすく宇宙人の形として現れてくれたんだと思う。光そのものだったんですけれども、宇宙人の形として見せてくれていた。
And I'm including this portion of the video as they depicted it. Thanks, Steven Spielberg. So what we can learn from that is, again, they can make you feel something. We got to be very careful about feelings. We can't just rely on feelings. I felt that this was the right way. They told me I've never felt so much love before. You don't know how many times in researching this has happened, that they say, oh, we felt this way. In fact, when I did an LED once that talked about this Satanist that became Christian after he experienced something that he thought Christ came to him. And
I remember.
It was fascinating. I might go and grab those clips because we should probably talk about that again. What he said was very interesting was that it made him feel as if it was pure love. It's a really interesting clip. If you want to go back there and look that up, I might grab that and do a whole show on that again sometime. But it was the same. We found out it actually wasn't Christ. If you look into the actual characteristics of what was going on, it wasn't God at all. And he had pushed out I'm rabbit trailing, but he had pushed out a spell of some kind to try to make his influence in Satanism better. And
it was to contact a demon.
Yeah,
that's what he was doing. It was a ritual to contact a demon, and then he says he met Jesus. Hello.
I mean, that's not the only aha moment. There was many that it was like, oh, that's what's going on here. Okay, we get that. Right. So.
And then this poor woman too, which I do feel bad for this woman because, she's not necessarily a Satanist or anything, but she's fallen in with bad spiritual company. And the fact that, like I said, where she said, here I am, essentially here I am is what she said. And she surrendered to them. That is a huge theme spiritually. We are meant to surrender unto Christ. We're meant to surrender unto the one true God. But Satan wants to be like God, and he wants his worship. He wants his type of worship. And that means a full surrender to him and his buddies. And when you do that, they can flood you with all the happy feelings that you're going to want to feel. But interacting with God, the one true God, it can be really pleasant. But even prophetically, we see I took a scroll and it was honey in my mouth and it was bitter in my stomach. There can be an aspect of it's not always just happiness, because we're not there yet. We haven't crossed the finish line where there's no more sorrow and there's no more pain. We're living in a time of immense sorrow and pain. So when God talks to us, sometimes he's got to talk to us about that stuff and the things that are coming on the face of the world, and it's not going to make you feel all tingly.
No, I've heard stories about whole bands on stage at Christian churches, and they said all of a sudden something took over us, and we were able to play, and it just felt so amazing. They were in this state of awe, and they were just, I don't know what we played the whole song, and it was the Holy Spirit. I don't know. I got to be careful. We got to be very careful about our feelings, and because God, we're here to understand what the Bible says, not understand what our feelings say. Our feelings are deceptive. The Bible says the heart, and that's what primarily causes feelings, not literally, but when you talk about your feelings, you talk about the heart, right? So the heart is deceitful. Yeah. So I think that's.
And the way that you also parse these experiences too is you compare it to the Word of God. Like you're saying that there was what you were just describing was there was a lapse, like they didn't remember playing something. Mm-hmm. So then you have to take that experience and then ask yourself, okay, is there anything biblically that supports that happening? Mm-hmm. Biblically, is there anywhere I can find where a prophet had missing time, where they were like, and I did things and I knew not what I did? I can't think of any. So like immediately when I can't think of any off the top of my head, and I know the Bible fairly well, I don't know it cover to cover. So that's why I study it and I look at it and I say, okay, is it there? Maybe it's there. Maybe somebody had a memory lapse. Mm-hmm. But if you can't find anything in the Word of God to support that, you gotta, I think it's safe to say, okay, this is another power acting on you, right. Not God. Yeah.
100%. Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating. You ready for this? All of the sudden, out of nowhere, complete blue, they start talking about the dead, because that's always where it goes. Here we go. Watch
this says it all.
Yeah.
お化けの話とか不思議な話っていうのはみんな興味深く怖いものっていうふうに思ってる、お化けとかで。そうじゃなくて、この福島、宮城、岩手の人々、この地震に遭った人たちっていうのは今まで一緒に住んでた人たちが戻ってきてるっていう感覚を持ってるんですね。こうやって車でこう人を探している時に青白く明るいボワッとこうボワッっていう感じの明かりがこういうところの上に上がってるっていうのが大体普通でした。ここにこうあるとちょうどこの運転席のところに人が死んでたという感じ、ちょうどこの辺にあってこの運転席にあるという、そういう感じで考えていただけるといいかな。人玉ってわかりますかね。火の玉というか明るいこう光の玉がポッとこう浮いてるもの、それはいくつも見ました。日本では人が死ぬとその魂が光の玉になって天に上がっていく。
How easy would it be to say that the dead are with them?
Yeah. And that's what they want to believe too.
Right.
It's a sad thing, you know.
こういう大きな地震とかがあった後、たくさんの方が亡くなられた後にその火の玉を見たら、それは UFO ではなくて間違いなく人間の魂、火の玉だというふうに思う。それが我々の考え方、見方。
This isn't now the first, Matthew. I mean, this is the first time I've seen this connected, and they say, well, you know, the dead are actually these orbs up there. I mean, wouldn't it be, this is just a theory, and so put this in the back of your head. I don't know if this is true. I have nothing to back this up, but what if these things come back and they say, you know, we've been, wait a second, I think actually Murnau says something like this. So these things come back and say, we have the dead and we've been with, you know, heaven, and I occupy a wonderful place there. Let me tell you about heaven and everything. All you have to do is one thing, and this is it, and you can be with us too.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's painful. It's so painful because yes, death is an unnatural thing. We were not created to die. Death entered in with sin. Sin is the disobedience of God. So we're never meant to disobey God. We're meant to love him and respect him and always have that there. So because death is such an unnatural thing, people are uncomfortable with it, and they want to feel that when you're dead, you're still alive, that that you're continuing to exist. Because I think at its core, people are afraid of not existing. There's a lot of, rock stars and everything who say, yeah, I'll go to hell. Why not? All the funnest people are in hell. I'm going to have a great time partying up. Even if I'm burning, I still get to flip off God. I still get to curse him out as I'm burning. What if you're not alive though? What if you're not experiencing anything? What if you're dead? Mm-hmm. When it says that the soul that sins will surely die, when it says that being cast into the lake of fire is the second death. What if you go into a state of non-existence? Ooh, now that's dread. You're going to immediately feel a sinking feeling, because it's like, what do you mean not exist anymore? I mean not exist at all. No consciousness ever, no blackness or void. You're just not there, period. Yeah. You're unmade. All of a sudden, that's a lot scarier, I think. Yeah. And what we have to keep in mind is these people who, in Japanese folklore, it seems like it's prevailed for a long time. We're seeing this pattern kind of emerge throughout this episode, where they're relying on historical things to make sense of the modern day mysteries. And like you were saying, the Hitodama it just straight up means a human soul. It says that when the souls of the dead have separated from their body, this is what they become. This is the form that they take, as these little orbs of light dancing around. It's crazy. I bet it's funny, those Japanese lanterns that are lit, I wonder if that has something to do with it, where they fly up, you put a candle in it, and it's an orb of light that goes up. I wonder if that's like mimicking the this belief.
Interesting. Never thought about that. That would be interesting to ask.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing, because what I'm seeing is Yeah, it's in their culture, and these people, they're better at identifying it than we are. And that's what I was saying earlier in the broadcast is we're going to see as we go, more people are going to look back into their own histories because they have an understanding of it, and they're going to go, wait a second, and they're all going to correlate it together, and it's all going to become UAP. Honestly, you could forget at a certain point that that's what this is about, because this episode is so heavy in spiritualism and religion. And this program is centered around UAP, right? Like that is wow. Okay. Yeah. And they're going there because you can't help but go there. Obviously, it's it's not even a choice. If you look at UAP stuff, you're going to run into spiritualism.
Right.
It's a given.
Right. And I can't let this pass up because I know there's someone watching and they're going, what are you talking about? Christianity believes that you go to heaven when you die. You definitely go to heaven. It's not right now, though. And the Bible does not indicate you go to heaven. There's like one parable in the whole Bible that seems to indicate that, and it can be, it's a fiction story. It's a parable. And there's much more evidence to show that when you're dead, you're dead. Let me show you exactly. Because if you're dead, if you die and you're still alive, that means you're not dead. I don't know why this is so hard for some people to understand. But the serpent told Eve in the very beginning, Genesis 3:4, you will not surely die. You can be as God. And that is the lie that's been told forever. And so if you believe someone that says, well, I'm not going to die. You said it just a minute ago, Ezekiel 18:20, the soul that sins, it shall die. That's what it says. Even Revelation says every soul died in the sea. So the soul does die. It's not immortal. And you know what? I actually saw answers.
Doesn't become a ball of light.
Yeah.
Doesn't separate from the body. It doesn't. Yeah. And that's another thing too, because you ask yourself as a Christian, if this is a new concept for you, does the Bible have that much in common with pagan religions? Because ultimately that's what this is. This is Japanese folklore, and it's describing the soul leaving the body and going on to an eternal existence. We just talked about Greek mythology, right? The Greeks believed that after you died, you kept on living. The Egyptians believed it. Native Americans believed it, both North and South. All over the world. I mean, I have Irish background. That's what the Druids believe, that you continue to go on living after you die. Every pagan ideology, every religion has you continuing to live after you die. So you have to ask yourself, does the Bible have that in common with them? Or is the Bible so radically different? Is the truth that God wants to share with us so radically different that when he says you die, you just die? I mean, it's a heavy point to arrive to, and we don't have to hammer it all night, but
sure,
just consider it. It really blew my mind, at least, when I came to this realization that biblically, when you die, and you're dead. Yeah. It's a comfort, honestly.
It is.
I'm grateful for it.
I'm trying to find on the fly here, and I can't find it. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it tonight. I'll put it in the Discord, but there's maybe it's already in the Discord. I'm not sure. I saw it somewhere. I thought it was on Messenger. But Answers in Genesis. I have a lot of respect for Answers in Genesis, even though I don't believe everything they believe. But they put out a Instagram meme that said, you are eternal. And I thought...
That's weird.
And I thought, what is going on here?
Because well, hold on. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so I'll have to find it. But anyway, it was it's pervaded everything that I hope to be eternal someday. But right now, I'm still mortal. I can die, and I cannot exist. Ecclesiastes 9:5 says, "The living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. Their love, their hatred, and their envy have perished. There is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. You'll be dead, dead, dead. Man lies down," at Job 14:12, "and till the heavens are no more, he does not rise." 1 Thessalonians 4:16, "The Lord himself will descend with a shout, and the dead in Christ will rise, and thus we shall be with the Lord forever." So are we in heaven right now? No. Thessalonians says we will rise and we will be with the Lord forever. There's so much evidence in the Bible that proves that the dead are dead. What?
I just want to say too, Answers in Genesis. I do like that ministry as well, even though doctrinally I certainly do differ with some of their stuff. They put on Ark Encounter. We had a great meetup. We went to Ark Encounter. We had a lot of fun there. So, but in John 17, and this is the beginning. I'm just going to read from 1 to 3. These words spake Jesus, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And this is life eternal, that they may know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. So right there, talking about eternal life, man being eternal, you're not eternal unless, it says right here, Jesus deems you to be eternal. And that's the gift of eternal life. That's and life is life. You can't get around it. That's the other thing too. Yeah, I told you we could go on all night.
I know, but I think
I just wanted to read that.
This is super important, and I'm watching the chat right now. Someone's talking about the thief on the cross and stuff. Let me talk about that just for a second, because there was no punctuation in the original language, and so let me leave it there for a second. That's not enough for me to say, oh, well, there wasn't enough punctuation, so
today you will be with me in paradise. Is that what they're talking about in the chat?
Okay, so
well, then Jesus says that he hasn't yet ascended to the Father.
In John 20:17, are
you going to
stealing my thunder?
I mean, that's just the logical conclusion, because
Right.
it's if he's going to be with him today in paradise, with him means with him.
Right.
And if he has not yet seen the Father, ascended to the Father, then how was he with him in paradise?
John
it's
20.
not that it's not like an inept thing or like they messed up with the punctuation. It's just if you translate it from the original Greek, it's just literally blocks of words, and they just go like there's not even like indentations, and they had to figure something out, and they had to put in punctuation. They actually had to create chapters. There's not chapters in the original.
It's a letter.
Manuscripts. It's just a big story. It's just a big block of story, and we have over time taken it and divvied it up so I can cite it. So I can say, in John 17. But if you said back then, in John 17, they'd be like, John 17 what? There's one John. John this. John's book of John. Wouldn't make sense to them. But
Right. And and there's a lot
even if you
to say
disagree
about it.
on that point, I just want to say too, even if you disagree on that point, that is okay.
Yeah.
Still love you. Thank you for being around. Seriously, this is not like I don't think that anybody is like, oh, you believe in that, do you? Well, then you don't have faith in Jesus, and you are going to suffer the punishment. No, I'm not saying that at all. This is just a passionate kind of argument that we have for this topic, because it does tie in, as you're seeing, to the UAP thing where they're saying that dead loved ones are coming back. And if we have this standpoint where biblically we say the dead loved ones can't come back because they're dead, they haven't been resurrected yet, so there is no loved one to have around, by default, that is a demonic entity. If you don't believe that, then at least you're watching this and you have an understanding that they will pose as your dead loved ones.
Right.
No matter what you think.
Yeah, 100%. And so
I'll put that out there.
It's a very important point, because we're seeing this right now as a precursor to what's about to happen. And we need people to, if you don't believe and don't understand that the soul is dead, that's okay. What we want you to believe, though, is don't talk to them. Don't talk to anything that says it's dead, because that's called necromancy. And if you start worshiping that, you don't have to sit bound down to it. All you have to do is just say, hey, can you help me? Can you give me knowledge? Can you tell me, let me ask you a question. Well, now you're going to that thing instead of to God, and that's called idolatry. You've broken a commandment. That is what we don't want you to do, because this is the whole thing here. So let me just read this last thing, I'll give you the last word, but
you read your thing, and then let's go to the clips. Yeah,
let's do it. The dead person, according to the Bible, Psalms 104:29, returns to dust, knows nothing, Ecclesiastes 9:5, possesses no mental powers, Psalms 146:4, has nothing to do with anything on earth, Ecclesiastes 9:6, does not live, 2 Kings 21, waits in the grave, Job 17:13, continues not, Job 14:1 and 2. There's a lot more on that sheet that I could go over, but the Bible's very clear on this topic. Don't do necromancy. This is not something God's playing with right now. And it's what essentially killed Saul. Okay, I'm done. I'm not going into that story. Let's jump into this next clip. This next clip is going to talk about. This is the actual video, the full thing. Let's look at the what's going on in the sky. Here we go.
Of a piece, one thing.
And the excitement. With the excitement.
There's so many of them.
Yep.
That's nuts. That wasn't the whole thing. Maybe I'll have to cut that up a little bit more. But
that's okay. I'm trying to say things because I'm sorry if the commentary is talking over the videos tonight. I'm just trying to make sure we don't get struck down, and that's a good way to do it, is to have interjections.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hear the excitement in their voice, and almost like the hysteria that's building.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it is going to be a bad day to be on planet Earth. Woe to us, the inhabitants of the earth. The devil has come down amongst us, and he knows his time is short. And it's like, his arrival is going to be like that. And it'll be one where people are really excited, but then you have Jesus coming, and what happens? Like they don't have time to get their phones out because they are running to hide under rocks, and they're saying, "Fall on us, hide us from the face of the Lamb." But we get to be out there, and we say, "Jesus, I knew you were coming. Your promises are good and true." I'm gonna be so happy. Honestly, I'm gonna cry tears of joy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be such a wonderful, wonderful day. I pray to be alive for that. I'm not afraid to die. I want to die for Jesus. If I'm gonna die, let me die for Jesus.
Absolutely.
But I would love to see the return of Jesus Christ, like with my eyes. I know that being resurrected, you will see it. Of course, it's like de facto gonna happen. But I'd love to be amongst the living and just think of the anticipation. It's like, it is like that. There's a reason why in the scriptures is compared to a wedding day. It's that excitement. It's like, he's coming. I know he is. And then when it happens, it's just like, yes, this is it. This is it. Delivered.
Absolutely.
Vindication. Yeah.
All right. This next clip, I'm not even going to comment on. I'm just going to play it. We're going to late tonight because this is such an amazing, interesting, lots to learn from here. So here we go. Watch this.
When Japanese people talk about extraterrestrials or UFOs or why they're here, a lot of it is about achieving or restoring balance. That modern life is out of harmony. And the benevolent view is that aliens, whatever you want to call them, are coming in or are concerned and are trying to restore a sense of balance to the world.
地球人たち、アースリング、我らのブラザー&シスターズは核エネルギーを使うっていうことを始めたよ。
What is?
で、それはすごいなって。地球人類も随分進化したな。そういうテクノロジーとかね。で、だけどちょっとほっとけないなと。原子力は危険性が高いわけですよね。子供がキッチン行って火をねつけてフライパンでやる3歳の子供がねやるとしたらそれはもう危ない。親はやっぱり気をつけなきゃいけない。そんな感じだと思うんですよ。宇宙人も。
Should we be scared?
宇宙人？怖がらなくていいよ。怖がらなくていい。宇宙人は人間の味方だと思ってください。
Think of them.
そう。悪い宇宙人に会ったことないからね、大体。
I've never met a mean alien.
バランスをちゃんと取るようにしたんだと思うんですけれども。それも愛のエネルギーの表れだと思います。
They're expressing their love.
I think this is an intelligence that recognizes the depth of human creativity and wants to preserve it. I think this intelligence cares about us. I think this intelligence does not want us to go extinct. That's what I think is really being communicated. We're right here with you. Just open your hearts, open your minds, We'd like to help you.
Oh, thank you.
And, let's get to know one another. I think that's really what the message is.
So all these people were all the main characters in this mini series here, and they're all saying the same thing. We think that they're good. I'm just not with you. And even that one guy at the very beginning said, the benevolent view is, okay, when you say it that way, that tells me there's more to the story that wasn't aired in this. Because if there is the benevolent view, what's the
other view,
alternative?
right?
Yeah, exactly. What aren't you telling us?
Good point. That's a tricky editing thing. You picked up on that because you edit videos and stuff. So you're able to pick up on that. It's one of those like tricks. Yeah. That's funny because I didn't pick up on that, but you're right. Yeah, he probably did describe more than one view.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that they wouldn't like about it is that woman, it's sad to hear. She's like obviously getting emotional. She's on the verge of tears talking about this and saying they don't want us to go extinct. That's another thing you're not going to like about my God, because when he returns, the earth gets destroyed at the second coming. And it's appropriate because we need justice to be done. This is a wicked and fallen world, and there is sin running amok. We have a holy God. A holy God can accept no imperfection, no sin. So the only thing that is left for a fallen world that has rejected God is death and destruction. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen. And people, you don't have to be afraid of that, obviously, because Jesus died for you. He died for your sins. So this is not something that is, fated to happen to you. If you surrender to Jesus Christ, you're good. You don't have to worry about any of this. But yeah, this whole idea of there's going to be a preservation of this world. Sorry. It's not what the scriptures say. And that's not what God has in mind. There is going to be justice. Justice will be satisfied. And this world will be destroyed. And there will be a new heaven and a new earth that we will get to inhabit.
Absolutely.
It's going to be beautiful.
100%.
That will be preserved. That will not go extinct. So we can look forward to that.
Having a UFO event as a religious event changes people's worldview, and a golden age, they believe, is coming. Watch this.
A UFO is an event. When a person has an experience, say they see a UFO, they're different afterwards. I know this sounds really strange, but the relationship to the cosmos changed for these people. Almost like a religious conversion experience. It changes their worldview, it changes the way they work, it changes their relationships to people. It fundamentally, completely changes them.
これはね、2016年に
Astral abduction. You said it.
アストラルボディだけがアブダクションされて UFO の中に入って、スクリーンがここに目の前にあって、勉強したことを言いますね。 UFO の視聴覚室の中で地球は生きているってことです。もういろんな事件があってみんな心がいろいろありますから、トラウマとかね、その中でやっぱ人を憎んでしまったり、ネガティブな気持ちになってしまったり、そういういろいろな要はね、自分の意識に曇りが入っちゃってるんですよね。各人自分自身でね、その意識をもう一回自分が幼子の頃のように。
That's ironic.
まだ本当生まれたての、もう何
Jesus says
のバイアスもない自分の意識をクリーンアップしてクレンジングしていったその先に宇宙文明がある。
You see this? We clean
黄金色
ourselves.
のね、黄金色に光り輝いてるんですよ、地球が。それが最後見せられたの、そのスクリーンに出てきたの。地球の未来は明るい。黄金色の The Golden Age がこの地球にやってきます。
And we know about this golden age. It's got a lot of different names. It's the age of Aquarius. That's an interesting still.
That is true.
He looks in pain there.
Well, I
Just
think
the way you had the video edited.
I had to cut somewhere, but it's funny. The interesting thing is this isn't just in Eastern religion. This is also in Christianity too. Christians believe that, oh man, we could spend a whole episode on this. That there is coming a time. Revelation does describe 1,000 years of peace. It doesn't describe it on Earth, and I'm going to describe. I wish we had time to go into that whole.
It's okay.
There's a whole. This could take a whole turn right here. We could go an hour.
It's a big theological point that you're trying to make, and essentially to sum it up, I think this is my best way of summing it up: is if Jesus comes back and is going to destroy the world, and then after that destruction, there is described 1,000 years that where you reign and the books are opened. Where is that taking place? If the earth is destroyed and the earth hasn't been made new, by default, you can see it takes place in heaven. And Jesus said that I am preparing a place for you, so that where I am, you may be also. And he's preparing that place in heaven. And it doesn't say that the New Jerusalem descends until after the lake of fire, after all that goes down. So I think that's kind of what you were getting at, right?
That's it, 100%.
Yeah.
I was going to pull out Bible verses, but yeah, you did it. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here, Matthew. That's fantastic. This really put the cap on it for me. Watch this.
人間ってこんなに綺麗な心を持ってるんだなっていうのを見せてくれた。人っていうのはこんなに綺麗なんだな。
Somebody pull up Jeremiah.
いい人たちばっかりなんだなっていうことを
What does the Bible say about the heart?
見せてくれた。
What does the Bible say about people being good? Sorry, this is just funny. It's like every single thing this guy is saying. It's like, no, there is none good. All are wicked. All have gone astray. That the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? It's like that's what I love about the Bible. It's like every time you're confronted with this New Age stuff, you just be like, nah, got a verse for that. Got a verse for that. Ooh, I got 3 verses for that one. Here, take them.
Let's read each one of these because some people are on iPhones. I want to make sure everyone can hear or understand what he's saying here. Let me see. Okay. It says, I was shown that human beings have such beautiful hearts.
Jeremiah 17:9.
The heart is wicked above all things. Who can know it?
Yeah.
こんなに綺麗な心を持ってるんだなっていうのを見せてくれた。人っていうのはこんなに綺麗なんだな。
People are really beautiful.
Yeah, but then look what he says. Everyone is actually a good person. Ooh.
Oh boy.
All had gone astray.
Yeah, all have gone astray. Let's see. There's not one good. No, not one. Let me see what.
There you go. Yeah, that's Isaiah. Isaiah 53:6. Yeah, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way.
Yeah.
The Lord has laid on the iniquity of all.
And actually, Romans quotes that in the New Testament. Says, as it is written in Romans 3:10, no one is righteous, not even one.
Yep.
So that's okay. Next phrase. We beat that dead horse.
っていうことを見せてくれた光
I think that's what the lights showed me. I'm sure they did.
じゃないかなというふうにそういうふうに思います。
That's the conclusion.
That's it.
Of the whole episode.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow. I am like, yeah, this is it's a well-produced little show. It's bringing some very interesting ideas to the fore. It's way more about religion and spiritualism, at least in the 2 episodes we saw, episodes 1 and 4. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not even really talking about UAP most of the time. It's just like, let's talk about this weird New Age stuff that's tied in with it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they are talking about it, just not in the traditional sense that you'd expect people to talk about it when they have a mini-series on Netflix. Because there was another series on Netflix that was more based in like sightings of a military nature and stuff. What was that? That came out relatively recently. I don't know. I don't have Netflix. I just see that Netflix is doing things. But obviously they are doing things because this Encounters is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Very wild.
It is. And I I haven't watched episode 2 and 3. I had someone that I've been messaging, Pierre, and he's watched all of them, and I haven't watched the other 2. He says there isn't much religion in that. He says they're interesting, but not much religion. I don't know if I'm going to, but we just lost like 10 people. They're like, I'm going to bed. We're done. And so we're dropping like flies now. Well, everyone knows the show's over, and so we try to hide that from the audience so that you guys stick around, so we have a better. Because if people stick around, YouTube
he wants
says this thing's
retention.
better.
Now
Yeah.
it's tanking even more because you're talking about retention. What are you doing?
We gotta peace out. Otherwise, people are gonna.
Come on, man. We're not just piecing out though. We're not just gonna peace out. I'm gonna say a prayer. So
Yeah,
I want to pray tonight.
And stick around after the prayer.
Yeah. Father in heaven, there is so much tragedy on this earth. Humanity has endured a lot of suffering, and it's suffering that was earned because of the disobedience given to you. I pray now that all the people who are in a state of suffering and pain, rather than focusing on the bad things that are happening to them or turning to some false religion, that they turn to you, the one true God who loves them, and that they lay all of their cares on you, and that they experience relief and they are given hope, and that as many people that are suffering right now can experience true peace through you and your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Matthew, for the prayer. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you stick around, Matthew, just for a second. Folks, thank you so much for what you've done and contributing to this. Just being in the chat here helps us out. Talking back and forth, we've learned so much, not only from watching and understanding this through a biblical lens, but also through talking to you too. So we like it when you join us live, even though it's on an unusual night. I'm Bradley. This has been pure strangeness and absolute normalcy. Strange normal. We'll see you next time.
You're watching Strange Normal, where the truth is the truth.